You're strong.
I know.
It's okay. I've got you now.
Just like in the movies.
Welcome to Super Wonder Legacy. I'm Jared. I'm here with Brit. What's up, Brit?
Hello, hello.
And I am here with my good buddy, Teladia Plays. How you doing, brother?
Hello, everyone. It is your boy Teladia Plays.
Now, Teladia is doubly interested in this topic because not only is he a fellow Snyder aficionado, he's also a Super Wonder fan because I converted him because no one will believe in the horrors of Wonder Bat.
Yes, he converted me. It's become a...
Well, it doesn't hurt that the stream where he was talking about Super Wonder is the one where Comic Explain dropped in the chat. So there you go. So let us begin here. So we are talking about the age-old discussion, the age-old topic. Superman and Wonder Woman in the SnyderVerse. So the way we're going to do this, we are going to discuss each movie that they appear in. So we're not going to talk about Aquaman or Aquaman 1 or 2, just movies that either had Superman and Wonder Woman in them or were supposed to have them. I say supposed for a very specific reason. You'll see why when we get into this. So first off, what is the SnyderVerse beyond the greatest conglomeration of films ever to grace films? I'm over exaggerating, but you guys know me. So after the success of like Watchmen, 300, our good boy Zack Snyder was given the opportunity to direct Man of Steel. Direct, not write. So for anyone that blames him for what they didn't like about Man of Steel, remember, he showed up and the script was done. They just said, hey, can you direct this? And he was like, okay, fine. Then he did it. Now, the thing that I like about Zack, and I'll go to each of our esteemed panelists today, is he, I think, as best as he can, merged the New 52 / post-crisis continuity in a way that he paid respect to both. What do you think, Brit?
Well, it was mostly, of course, post-crisis, but specifically for Superman, of course, because they cannot let go of post-crisis. So with everyone else, though, Aquaman and Wonder Woman, specifically, the New 52 really did give them that popularity boost and to take them a little bit more seriously, especially Aquaman.
Yeah.
But with Wonder Woman, it was more so the show that her character, you know, she's more than just whatever specifically Twitter X thinks of her. You know, she's not just this feminist in the way that's so superficial, like that she is a fighter, she is a warrior, but there is heart within her too.
Exactly. How about you, Teladia?
Like for me, it was like I feel like what Zack portrayed was obviously it was a mixture of post-crisis and New 52, but it was leaning a little bit, especially with Superman. It felt like the suit was inspired by the New 52 when it came down to the Kryptonian aspect of it.
True.
And,
particularly in terms of like the no trunks and all that stuff, and it being from Krypton kind of made it more. Plus, a lot of the plots for these Superman movies, and we'll discuss them here, took heavy inspiration, I think, from like Grant Morrison's Action Comics.
Yeah, definitely. That's why, like, he did add the post-crisis stuff, like the cape the cape that is tucked into the suit instead of it being on the suit itself, which kind of did bother me. I'm not gonna lie to you. that did
Because you
bother me.
wanted the collar, didn't you? There you
Yeah, I
go.
went to the collar. Yeah.
Which Henry could pull off that collar. I've seen some fan art, but so for me, it's like, for me, it was mainly I didn't respect Superman at all. I thought he was kind of a boring character because I was more of a Batman fan, because DC gave like Batman more respect. Objectively, he's the one they give more attention to. But Zack kind of showed, okay, so here's what Superman is. Here's who he is, to his fundamental core. And once you get that, then you build him back up. And that's what Man of Steel and particularly BVS was about, and it still works. So anyway, speaking of Man of Steel. So for Man of Steel, it was basically like, it was a modernization of Superman's origin, and it showed him getting his powers and struggling with his place in the world. And the thing about it that I liked about Man of Steel is the way you see Clark, even before he's Superman, he's still helping people. He's just doing it more from like the shadows. And that was kind of a line. This is where it gets into the New 52 like part, I think, Brit, is when like, so he starts saving people without formally being Superman. I mean, in New 52 Action Comics, he was just wearing a t-shirt and jeans and a cape.
Right. And also, I believe that this, I will say, quote unquote, radical, change of Superman being more serious was an answer to Nolan's, Bat franchise. And because Batman was able to really resonate, of course, with the modern audience, they wanted to modernize Superman. And New 52, as we keep referencing, was the documentary that is what New 52 and DCEU was supposed to be, in a sense of modernizing these characters, and especially Superman, because no one wants to see the trunks. In order to actually understand the character, you have to give some character to both sides. And for far too long, the Kryptonian side has been neglected or demonized. And also, within Man of Steel, he gave a little bit of character for Laura, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Granted, Laura didn't have that many scenes in the movie, but what they did give was actually really good. I wish that they would have referenced her being a general, because New 52 did that, and I really love that.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and I would say that DCEU had like, for Superman, it was like the appearance of New 52, but he was still like written so far to be post-crisis, and it was a balancing act that they obviously just couldn't balance. But yeah, from what they gave Laura, just those she had like 10 minutes or so, that really struck to the how New 52 Laura was, and that's the portrayal that I prefer her. I don't really like that she's just like this mute wife that hangs on Jor-El's shoulder crying. I want her to actually have a character, and that is what DCEU and New 52 gave her.
Plus, I really liked how like New 52 and this did the whole, okay, Clark was born on Krypton. He wasn't like made by some birthing matrix in the ship. I'm like, that is just so stupid. I'm like,
so he can be American.
Yeah, I know, because what they keep forgetting, what it allows them to do is that Superman is the hope of Krypton. He's the last surviving Kryptonian, and it's like the continuation of the race that only really works if he's like born on Krypton. By the way, so you know what I realized when I was putting together this PowerPoint? So you see this image of him being knocked into the bank vault?
Yeah.
So I was perusing Twitter, and people had said, I remember seeing this, and I thought, oh, Superman must be going up against bank robbers. And I'm like, what bank robbers are going to knock Superman into a bank vault? What?
And mind you, like that was the first promotional image that they shared of Superman in the Superman suit. Not one of those basketball, rubbery, just the crest thing. You know.
Yeah, you mean the James Gunn suit thing? Yeah.
Yeah. This was an actual suit reveal.
Yeah, and honestly, the suit looks. All of Zack's suits look really, really good. But anyway, so Teladia, your thoughts on Man of Steel?
Like the film overall?
Yeah.
Like I love it. Like I love the fact that Man of Steel, like it gives the first ever natural born Kryptonian. We've never seen that in film. We've never seen it in television. And this was the first film to do that, and to see like the whole Kryptonian matrix going into Kal-El, that was something interesting. That was something cool that they added.
Yeah, I mean, Reeves' Superman was born on Krypton, I believe, because they put him as a baby in the ship, I think.
Yes, they put him as a baby.
Right,
Yes.
All right. So, in terms of Super Wonder, there's not much. I wouldn't change anything about this movie because, again, it's just a Superman movie, and it's not like it's introducing other characters. You can allude to there being other like metahumans.
Yeah.
But I don't think you really have to like add anything really to this movie. Just keep this as the pure movie it is. Granted, you can tweak some stuff, like have it be more obvious that like Clark can't save John from a tornado, but to like ward off criticism. But
there is one thing. There is one
Yeah.
thing I would change.
What?
Make the how Zack said that he was going to make Kryptonians the gods of the Amazons or whatever.
Oh, you mean the Greek gods, Kryptonians?
Yeah.
See, that's an interesting idea. I don't think it would work though.
No, it's too much of a different mythology to even try to, blend that together. The only way you can blend that together is having, the two worlds come together like Superman and Wonder Woman, but to actually have them originate as Kryptonians and turn into Greek gods, it's too much, having to basically asking why this happened and how. And
Which
there's
is why
really no
it was a
how.
rejected idea. Just want to be clear on that. It was a rejected idea. My idea if you want to talk about like Kryptonians and conspiracy theories, my idea would be, so remember that scene when Zod is showing Kal-El that they travel to all of the like outposts and you see like a bunch of like dead bodies holding guns like they were attacked. So my idea was that, so those outposts, those were attacked by Apocalypse and a few of the Kryptonians were captured. The Kryptonians are the female Furies.
Ooh.
That was my idea in terms of like, because my whole thing is that I'm looking at like the way the bodies are positioned in that they're holding guns like they were in a fight. And I'm like, granted, it could be anything, but it's on a barren world. My thoughts is Apocalypse invaded. And remember, they don't know that if you get into a yellow sun, you become a god. So there you go. But so that's that's Man of Steel. Then we get to Batman versus Superman, Dawn of Justice. The Empire Strikes Back of the DCEU, and the most divisive movie of the DCEU, unless you watch the Ultimate Cut. So this is basically, all right, this takes place 2 years after Man of Steel. Clark has a new suit. He's like dealing with the government not trusting him because of like the destruction of Man of Steel. And this has always been like my problem with people critiquing like the violence and carnage in Man of Steel, because yeah, they directly address it in the next movie, but we all know these people don't watch the movies. But so then we have Batman, and Batman's whole thing is that you have these gods that if they wanted to could burn the whole place down. That was Batman's line himself. Then you have Wonder Woman. It's like all of a sudden all of these different superhumans are emerging. So now I'll ask you this, Brit, your general thoughts on BVS.
Okay, so first of all, Batman's paranoia, it always irritates me because if they did want to take over the world, they would have done it, from jump. Like the second they arrived or shown who they were, they wouldn't, go out their way to save people. Like, that just doesn't make any sense. So Batman's paranoia.
Actually, counterpoint, Bruce addresses that. When Alfred says he's not our enemy, and then Batman goes, yeah, not yet. 20 years in Gotham, Alfred. How many good guys are left? How many stayed that way?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like you're talking about Gotham, like his whole perspective. And that's the thing about Frank Miller, and this is where that comes from, too. The Dark Knight universe, Dark Knight Returns, is Batman's perspective is paranoia and everyone is bad in some type of way, even if they are good. Like his all-star, like Frank Miller's all-star Batman and Robin. You see Wonder Woman. She's like this over-the-top feminist, this, the sperm bank line.
Out of my way, sperm bank.
That line.
That's a line from the book, Teladia.
Yeah.
You have that. You have Superman that's a little bit, he's a government stooge, all of these just over exaggerations of the characters, and it is from Batman's perspective. Now that leads into BVS being a little bit darker, and because you ended Man of Steel with the neck snap, and then you go a little bit darker with Batman, but you still have this sense that Superman isn't, he's dealing with a lot. He's dealing with the government not trusting him. He's dealing with, even though it was very underdeveloped and I don't care for it, but that relationship with Lois or whatever, still dealing with the fact of, can I be with this woman that I barely know and still be Superman, to the world? Just things like that. This is the reality of being a superhero. And for people to want to shy away from that and go back to Reeve, that the world is so easily accepting, that is not my cup of tea. So
because I think they don't like to see their characters. I think people don't like to see their favorite character struggle. By the way, Brit, I got another idea.
Of course you did.
Yes, I think you're going to dig this one. But anyway, continue on.
Yeah. So the main plot or purpose of BVS is to show pretty much the downfall and the struggle that Superman and basically all the other heroes are having. That is the reality. So the execution of it might not been the best, which honestly, I mean, what movie is the best that it can be?
Zack Snyder's Justice League, Brit. That movie's perfect.
Yeah, that's an exception. But, just if you understand the purpose of it, you will understand, okay, this is what it was trying to tell you. And you would pretty much appreciate it, especially as a Superman fan, because you don't want him to be this one-dimensional, just this happy-go-lucky character. I don't. I want him to have flaws. I want him to have struggles.
Post-crisis Superman had flaws.
He did, but at the same time, he was still silver spoon. It was kind of like,
I mean, there's literally a montage in this movie of people on the news talking about, oh, Superman could be a threat and stuff. What do you see Superman doing? Constantly saving people. So anyone that says Superman never saves anyone, the SnyderVerse, wasn't watching the movie, because it's not like it's happening like on a TV screen in the back. No, it's in your face. He leaves a gala to save someone from a burning building.
And to quote Lex Luthor, "You're wrong."
Yeah, exactly. Wrong. Exactly. There you go. It gets a lot of you. Plus, it's like, here's the thing. And this is why I say the Ultimate Edition is the only valid version of this movie. Because remember, so the Capitol building blows up in this movie, and Superman's like, how could I miss this? He thinks he was distracted. So it kind of shakes his confidence a little bit. And obviously, we learned the Ultimate Edition, that's because the wheelchair was lined with lead. Again, I can't believe they took that out. But it's like, Superman's constantly dealing with this whole, why am I here? I don't know if he even goes to like a mountain and has a vision of the father, of like with Jonathan Kent. And he basically says, you have to ground yourself, Clark. No. Now, the whole grounding with Lois, I think, is still BS. But that's a DC problem. That's not a Zack Snyder problem. He's just going off of what DC is doing. But in terms of like, he's basically saying, find your reason to keep going. And again, this is all inspirational. I don't know what people say about this. It's
because it has to have sunshine and rainbows in
exactly
order for that to actually, you know, especially with Superman, because you think of the bright colors, you think of just the smiling man, you know, with his hands on his hip and or waving the American flag, having actual struggle, questioning, and everything like that. That is something that they just will not accept because, like I said, he has to be, you know, spoon fed. And
exactly.
also, with BVS, you, I would say that that is where you have like the golden age and New 52, and
Mhm.
pretty much, I think it was Reddit or it was Twitter X, but they were saying about Superman like losing his parents or New 52, like demonizing him. And it's like he is exactly how Golden Age acted is New 52, or, you know, and it's the fact that the Superman fans now are so sensitive and so soft. It's like he really can't struggle. Even
No,
if,
he can't.
you know, the Superman and Lois show,
Mhm.
they try to show struggle, but at the same time, at the end of the day, they want a happy ending when you know it's going to be a predictable happy ending for him to have, you know, a wife and kids. That is how it's going to be.
That's
If
why I don't like. That's one of the main reasons why I don't like Lois, because there's zero stakes. I know DC doesn't have the balls to kill Lois, so whenever she's in danger, I'm like, so. Again, I tell this story all the time. I was reading the first arc of Warworld Saga. Lois is in danger, and I'm like, so Superman's gonna save her. Why do I care about this?
Exactly. So with things like that, even the My Adventures of Superman, they are going through the anime tropes of like the
Oh God,
cutesy,
it's Teladia and
blushy.
my favorite show.
That's your favorite show, Jared.
No, it's not. No,
the
it's not.
council,
Don't put words in my mouth, sir.
the Council of Loser Lanes.
That show is like, I'm sorry, that is not Deathstroke. That is the anime fanfic version of Deathstroke, but that ain't Slade Wilson.
Yeah, it's definitely anime fan fiction there. And yeah, it's just like I said, the execution may vary like all other movies, but when you understand the purpose, the point, you will appreciate the ambition and what it was trying to achieve and tell,
Yeah.
especially again with Superman. Because when you look, even with Marvel, Avengers, you know, Captain America, he's just as much as a Boy Scout. He is called, you know, Marvel Superman. And
Yeah.
for
In terms of characterization, yeah, he is.
and so for him to be flawed, you know, a little bit dark, just a little bit, and you know, that journey that he went through within the Avengers and everything, and he resonated with so many people, you know, of the general audience, and that is why Marvel has had so much success with the general audience, because they were able to, you know, give these characters a little bit more.
Yeah,
And but
exactly.
with Superman, it's kind of like you have to either teeter on the edge or you have to do, you know, the bare minimum for Superman, and that still does not help.
It doesn't sell. That's why I'm convinced that James Gunn's Superman movie is not going to be as successful as everyone else thinks. But Teladia, your thoughts on Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice?
One of the greatest film I've ever made. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It is one of the greatest experiences I'll ever experience at the theater. I remember going there. I really enjoyed the interaction between Superman and Batman. First time ever on screen. Come on, guys. Like, seriously, think
First
about
time
it.
the Trinity's on screen. I mean,
Yeah.
as a fan of Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, even in the art book, it's like Zack said, okay, I couldn't resist putting in a shot of them together, Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. I'm like, there's no, when you have the pieces, he's like, yeah, I couldn't not do that.
And funnily enough, that's like a homage from the DCEU of Justice League Unlimited. And
Why
the
did you say
intro-
that name? Ironically, you know, it's kind of funny, Brit. So we were talking about Batman Year One. Bruce Timm actually voices a character. He voices a thug.
Yeah,
Kind of funny
ironically.
how that works
Really?
out, huh?
Ironically.
So now for Super Wonder, I had some thoughts about this.
Yeah.
So what we could do now, first off with the gala scene, swap out Bruce for Clark and have it so like he's covering like the exhibition. He meets Diana there, and they have virtually the same conversation. In terms of the Doomsday fight, don't kill Clark, because this is a piece of criticism that I agree with. Even though I love the movie very much, I do agree it may have not been the best option to combine these two storylines together and to just kill Superman in the second movie. That's a problem. What I would do, or yes, kill him, but have Wonder Woman bring him back with the lightning powers that she does have, like in JLA Power Glory, Brit. Because remember, this isn't a world where even though the Wonder Woman movie hasn't come out, it still exists in this continuity. So she could like shock him back to life like she did in Power and Glory.
Exactly. And I think pretty much, even though you wanted Zack Snyder's Justice League, it was still the fact that it was a cheap death though, because you knew he was coming back. And I think that is what really hurt like the promotion for Justice League. It was done for shock value a little bit, but the death was unnecessary, and it was especially too early because you aren't really emotionally invested in Superman just yet. So his death was just done way too early. And yes, it was the catalyst to, the formation of the Justice League, but I just really, wouldn't have done that.
Well, you could have still done to have still have the Doomsday fight, not have him dead, and then still lead to the formation of the Justice League. At the end of the battle, they all decide, "Hey, we did great teaming up together, and there's more." And then Batman goes, "There's more of us, so why don't we stand together?"
Yeah, so something along those lines. But like you said, the second movie of killing Superman was just not the way to go. And I think that, again, that is what hurt, the future films.
Kind
As
of.
at the
I will say
promotion,
though, say what you want about this last battle. So, Britt, why do you think that like Superman and Wonder Woman are just naturally teaming up on Doomsday in those clips that I'm playing at the bottom? Where like even Zack knew that like naturally these two know what they're doing.
yeah, it was funny because Batman couldn't do anything, and
he had a
pretty much
grenade launcher, Britt. Come on.
whatever. That wasn't gonna do anything.
What is Batman gonna do against Doomsday?
Yes, he's very much useless.
He's gonna get torn apart.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Teladia.
What they want to go with Bat God, but Bat God can never, if you want to be realistic, whatever, never gonna happen. So yes, naturally, and this was really good. They're fighting together, but still was kind of a missed opportunity for them to have dialogue.
Yeah,
and
they should have. That's my one critique with the SnyderVerse in general. Why I want more movies is just for Superman and Wonder Woman to talk.
Especially because even if that rejected idea of the gods being Kryptonian, it was still the fact of Diana. She's a curator, so she studies, ancient things or whatever. So I would assume that Kryptonian, history, the ancient history or whatever, would interest her. So, that's the thing. And then for Clark to feel like, oh, well, there's someone that kind of similar to a Kryptonian or, or something to that effect, he would be intrigued by her too. So it's ways to make this, work and for them to have dialogue somewhere.
Yeah. So Teladia, your thoughts on like putting in Super Wonder into this? I mean, granted, they're not going to straight up start making out in the middle of the battle because remember they just met in this part. But still, it's like still some
That was
pretty
so
cool stuff.
shady.
Yeah.
There
That
is
was
one
such.
thing. There is one thing I would do instead of killing Superman. Have the Doomsday virus.
Okay, Superman doomed, and he's trying to control it. You can even make that a plot point in Justice League where he's the villain of Justice League. Well,
Yeah.
villain, air quotes.
Yeah, and it would have been far better if they did it that route.
Oh, you know, I just realized that's the Heroes Park fight in Justice League.
Yeah.
He loses
Definitely.
control of the Doomsday virus, and then that's what happens.
Yeah,
Teladia, you nailed it.
I mean,
It
what can I
definitely-
say? I'm a man of many talents.
Yeah, and we covered that story on his channel. So that actually works perfectly because that was a question that Brit gave me. How do we handle the Heroes Park fight? And I'm like, there you go. So
And
Doom-
Wonder Woman
Super
175.
yeah, there you go. So speaking of Wonder Woman 2017, which first off, again, this is a movie that I largely leave the same because it's fine the way it is. The Wonder Woman origin story. Okay, for future movies, keep Steve Trevor dead. Like, do not bring. I realize that I realize now I left out 1984, but I'm pretending that movie didn't happen, so I'm just leaving that out. So,
Exactly.
in terms of for this, yeah, just keep it largely the same. Don't bring Steve Trevor back in the beginning. I mean, at the end, except it. I mean, because I like the way this movie dealt with like Greek myth, because again, that's kind of my thing. And I'm making a Wonder Woman in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I'm almost done. I just need her tiara, and then I'm done. But the thing I really liked about this is like, can you imagine being Diana? You come out, you have all of these like idealistic views of the world, and then it's like there's this great scene. They bring her to the trenches, and she is having trouble processing it because remember she was like, "Oh yeah, man is so great," and then she shows up in the middle of World War I trench warfare. Kind of. You may be a little off there, Diana.
I mean, the setting is like far, way too far. I don't like that she's thousands of years old. I know, well, I would say that the mascara time scale or whatever is totally different. But Diana should always be born within like the present time of, of man's world time. So if she was born, I think real time in New 52, she was 23. So it was like that. She should not be over in man's world 100 years, because not only are you just totally slashing her supporting cast, but also how are you going to fill in the blanks of her, what she's done, you know, over
Particularly
those
when you
years.
factor in what was she doing during World War II?
Yeah, everything that has happened within, a century or whatever, what has she done except for, you know, the first war? But all the wars that has happened, all the I think in 84, which still do not acknowledge, but there was pictures floating around. I guess she was uh right in the audience or whatever of Hitler.
No,
So it was
that
like,
was a fake image. I know exactly what you're talking about. That was a
it
fake
was
image.
okay, because that is going
Because
around.
she's not gonna stand by and let Hitler rise to power. I'm sorry. No, no, no.
But it still gives the question of, like, it's true though. That does raise a lot of questions of what did she do within that time? What did she do within 9/11? What did she do? And to say, I mean, obviously she couldn't go back to the island because she was, she was banned or whatever. So she just stayed in London for 100 years or whatever, and no one knew of this woman that maintained the same age, and
no one
just
ever
being
noticed that she never ages. And by the way, actually, Joss Whedon gave a pretty good answer to this. Is that she for 100 years she was moping over her dead boyfriend.
and that is very much non
I just made
Wonder
Teladia
Woman.
cringe right about now.
Why did you say
It's
that
like
name?
the female empowerment, the Wonder Woman being like this ultimate symbol of feminism, that was cut with 1984 for sure, because in no way would you have your story of arguably the top superwoman or whatever. Why would you want her story to revolve around a man when that is the total opposite of her story?
Exactly. Plus, here's the thing. Again, go back to Steve Trevor. He doesn't work in a world where she fights gods. It's like and it was kind of funny. The movie basically touches on this when Mary shows up, and then Charlie's like, "What do we do?" And then Steve goes, "If that's what I think it is, we can't do anything." And so I'm like, I kind of like that. But again, it's kind of showing he's useless. Clark at least could go and get a few hits in.
Yeah, the only thing that they have of Steve is that he is normally like with a pistol or something. But of course it's like this human superiority type thing of at least he's brave enough to try to fight a god, but it's kind of like no, it's just trying to make him seem important, and I don't like that either. Even with
it's funny.
I really don't.
A lot of these writers that want these characters to be humans seem like they would be a better fit at Marvel.
Right.
Because that's kind of what Marvel is.
Marvel is very much making their human characters like gods, and DC is making their quote-unquote god-like characters into humans. And honestly, that doesn't work, because with Superman and Wonder Woman specifically, Marston, he said that, they are for children. They were. And they are supposed to inspire for you to, be better and to think beyond the imagination. And if you limit Superman and Wonder Woman as they have to be, limit to human acceptance or this human grounding that I can't stand, then how are you going beyond the imagination? So these characters, they have the ability to fly, but you want them to stand, to be on the ground, walking.
Normal. You have to be normal.
And honestly, normal is very different for everyone. My normal is not your normal. So it's like, what honestly defines normal?
Our normal is definitely not Bruce Timm's normal. I had to. I always have to put in a Bruce Timm dig. But so Teladia, your thoughts on Wonder Woman and what we have said so far?
Like the way I feel like for Wonder Woman, Steve Trevor should not have been in that film. I'm sorry.
Well, he kind of has to be in there, but with my thing, his usefulness stops the minute she leaves that island.
No, but I mean in terms of like the way he was a support character, like really, like for example, the whole I have to go save the world thing.
Yeah, that's Diana's job.
That's Diana's job, not your job.
So stop trying to make Steve Trevor more useful than he is, which is zero. It's not working. But anyway, so to make this Super Wonder, what I figured is, all right, so I do agree. It's largely the same, except like Brit suggested, she's telling the story to Clark instead. And this could be like, she feels comfortable enough with him. It's like they started to develop a friendship. It starts off as just a friendship as they're like trying to find like members for the league and such. But she starts to be able to identify with this being that has God powers, that has felt isolated from people. And so she and we can make this like the first time she started to open up to someone in 100 years.
Exactly. And honestly, that makes way more sense than trying to talk to Batman, because what they tried to do for Wonder Woman within just the DCU, and it was for her to be distant from humanity because of Steve, but in a sense of to I guess have something in common with Batman. And it was like, no, that is not Wonder Woman. She doesn't distance herself from humanity. She tries to connect herself with it. It's just the fact of she's still, it's not humanity. It's just her, it's culture. And that is where the lines blur of understanding the difference between, which it shouldn't, you know,
Mhm.
because humanity and culture is two totally different things. But with so many people saying, oh, well, Diana, she's this goddess, and because she's from a foreign island, that she, you know, she doesn't have her humanity and she needs a human connection. Well, that human
Maxibat
connection,
for life.
well, that human connection ultimately boils down to Steve, which is being an American and
America.
yeah, and a mortal man. That's it. But she has those human connections, if you or mortal connections of Julia and Vanessa, of
Yeah,
Etta.
my whole thing is like with this whole human thing, I'm like that's an incredibly lazy storytelling thing to say. He has to be he or she. I say he because also Superman. The same thing applies to Lois Lane. You're telling me that just because he's in a relationship with Superman, I mean, just because he's in a relationship with Lois Lane, that he's not going to turn evil or he's not going to detach from his humanity. I'm sorry, that doesn't work. Because here's the thing, though. And someone in my comments put up a 5-paragraph essay pretty much on why, when you look at what they say Lois brings to Superman, there's about 18 other characters that give that to Superman. Like a human friendship, Batman, but as close to human friendship as Batman is capable of. Partnership, Wonder Woman. In fact, it's kind of funny. Superman with Wonder Woman is inevitable because eventually Lois Lane dies.
Not only that, but I mean, yeah, with showing that they will be together, either way, it's still the fact of they want. I mean, that's even more so why they are basically hell bent on saying that Lois is his only connection to humanity. But as we see in Kingdom Come, the circumstances of humanity choosing Magog over him is the only reason why he, stepped away. But who was it that pushed him back? It was Wonder Woman. New 52, he was not romantically involved with Lois, but even before then, of knowing Lois, he was still the, champion of the oppressed, the man
Plus,
of the people.
he was Superman before he met Lois, even in post-crisis.
Exactly. Wonder Woman, her sole motivation of being Wonder Woman was to venture out into the world and learn of culture and learn, just just other people. That doesn't evolve or revolve around Steve at all. And that is the one thing that Perez, the number one thing is that he showed that Wonder Woman's story revolves around not only a mother and daughter, Hippolyta and Diana, but also the women in Diana's life, beyond Hippolyta, which Julia, Vanessa, the other Amazons, Mindy, her publicist,
I love
you
Minnie
know,
Mayer. She was such a fun character.
yeah, just those. Wonder Woman story is really a you know, female empowerment story. And when you change that to be only about Steve, that just you know,
I say it's only
truly.
about a man. That's why Wonder Woman, that's one of the many reasons why 1984 doesn't work, because you make her reliant, you make Wonder Woman reliant on a man.
I mean,
That's
Etta
the
is
problem
gone.
with, there are many problems with 1984, but that's one of them.
That is the biggest one because Etta is gone and she didn't mourn her. And really she was with Etta for a very long time, it seemed.
In the pictures.
Yeah, so it was like she didn't mourn her. She didn't mourn. If you were having a wish, your biggest wish is for a man. It's just weird. Um, but about going back home to your Amazon sisters to see your mother. Or again, it's 84. I think the Wonder Woman reboot for Perez was 86 or 87. But honestly, as a creative director, writer, or whatever, I would have taken that opportunity to introduce Julia and Vanessa as an homage or to the Perez run in the 80s. That would have made much more sense.
What you could even done is like even have them like on the TV, like Diana's watching TV, and it's like, oh, this esteemed professor and expert on ancient civilizations, Julia Capitalis. There you go. It's that simple. But according to these people, it's not so simple. But anyway, so Teladia. All right. So what do you think? Impress me again. How do you put Super Wonder in Wonder Woman?
So the Doomsday Virus thing, right?
Again in Wonder Woman?
Yeah, and the fact that Wonder Woman, like Clark, gives her the information she needs, right, about her past. But this is before, this is like when he has the Doomsday Virus. But then when she's telling the story, he's off-world.
But she has to tell it to him, though.
But write a letter to him. Sorry.
They could do that. Honestly, that's an interesting idea, Brit. About she leaves him a little note.
Yeah.
I think Diana would do that.
I mean, the email thing does work, but I would rather have like the in-person, like Spirit of Truth, when they met at the on top of the dating planet, but they went to a coffee shop or something like that. But yeah, something like that, a little bit more in person, to really show their chemistry that can be built off of.
Well, what you could also do is have it where for most of the movie, we don't know. It's taking place at the diner, like Spirit of Truth, but you don't show who she's talking to until the very end of the movie. Like at the last shot of the movie is she wraps up the story. She gets up and then she goes to pay for the meal, but then and then you hear Henry Cavill say, "Don't worry, I got it," and then you see Clark.
Yeah,
so that way so that way you don't necessarily know it, and you can even have like Teladia for your Doomsday Virus thing. You can have like his hand is kind of shaking or something like that, and you can see like small, and then when he looks at it with his X-ray vision, he sees like those Doomsday spikes start to poke through. So and then Wonder Woman's like, "Are you okay?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm fine." And then he just flies away, and then there you go. You can start that. Now we're up to what is quite possibly the greatest superhero movie of all time. Hang on. Zack Snyder's Justice League. The 4-hour epic where the Apocalyptians invade. And I think the first part of this that's really cool is that this movie basically teases for like 2.5 to 3 to 4 hours that the Apocalyptians are scared of Kryptonians. Because when he's like, no protectors here, no lanterns, no Kryptonians, this world will fall like all the others. Then Superman shows up and goes not impressed and then beats the crap out of Steppenwolf. So I'm like, yeah, you're explaining to me with action instead of like exposition why the Apocalyptians are afraid of Kryptonians. Plus then again, Jeff Johns' new 52 Justice League is... obviously at least a model for what they for what they went off of with the story.
Yeah, and the fact that this was very much like an episodic movie, you know, in chapters and just it was a very long, slow burn setup of everything, but it made it feel like actual stakes were there, and also that the villain, you know, we see Darkseid all the time. I mean, to a point where it is kind of, meh, you know, just whatever.
Yeah.
But when you actually, you know, it's this is where, okay, it makes sense for at least Superman to be, you know, dead, and you need him. You sort of feel it a little bit more. You feel the impact, and that the team, even though it's forming, there's still a big chunk of it missing.
And Teladia, that's fine. Go do what you gotta do, brother.
All right, thanks.
Anytime. And then possibly he'll go back. But anyway, so continue on, Brit.
Okay, so with his death, I would say still I would change that. I just think that I understand we're trying to make Batman, you know, the leader and trying to make him form the league, but honestly, that's just not his place. I just feel like
it's Bat God again, but it's that. But the other thing, again, but going off of this, yeah. So if you don't want to kill him, you can still do the hero's part, because I know it's kind of funny with the whole confusion thing, or like being taken over by Doomsday. The lasso makes sense here, like that breaks the fog.
I did not. Yes, the lasso is powerful enough that, you know, it is to break any, you know, possession, especially around Superman. And this scene was, in a sense, Wonder Woman 175. And it would have been much more impactful if the lasso wasn't nerfed and that she actually was able to break through to him instead of, again.
Wait a second. She kind of was, because if you notice, he kind of like goes like, what? And because the way I like to think about it is that the lasso weakened the confusion enough for when Loser Lame shows up, he finally
exactly. That is the thing, is that Lois, it wanted to show that even Wonder Woman's lasso isn't powerful enough for Lois being like the love of his life type thing, that he is so codependent on Lois, you know, and it seemed like he is kind of like this rabid dog that needs to be controlled. That is the thing that I don't like about the relationship with Lois and how it's presented. She honestly isn't necessary. And the lasso, you know, any comic you pick up, it will show that the lasso is just effective for to break any spell or possession that Superman is under.
Now, I got an idea, and it's not for our story or anything like that. I'm saying an idea for this. Now, so I have in there in the second sentence where we can have this be where they start to fall for each other, but you could say is that because she's touching the lasso as well, you can kind of say like it's also kind of bringing their true feelings to the surface, because it's like they're physically connected via the lasso.
Exactly. And again, it goes back to what is it? I forgot the story, but I know there was where Wonder Woman says she wraps herself and Superman in the lasso, and she says, "Let your soul intertwine with mine."
Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah,
and
you can kind of do that.
And again, that shows how powerful the lasso is and how powerful their bond should be, you know, from the very beginning. And that's the thing, is that within these movies, though, from the beginning, it was a missed opportunity, and the build up to these relationships that they've had. Um, Again, it has all the things to do with WB,
Yeah,
messing
it's
up
not
things or
Zach's fault
whatever.
at all.
But it's just, again, that is the one thing that Marvel has, you know, a step ahead of DC, is that they use, yes, they do change it. They might change it drastically, and it might not hit the target, but it might. And even if the changes, whether it's changes or not, it resonates with the audience. Okay, but they still go within the source material. DC wants to deviate, the source material, and with Clark and Diana's relationship, that is the one thing that shouldn't be deviated from. It
Yeah.
should always be, even if it's not in a romantic sense, which again, as a super wondership or whatever, their relationship is not just a romantic one. It is built on respect, trust, honesty, and a friendship. And in reality, that is the one thing that you need for any relationship to grow. You need that friendship,
Yeah,
you know.
exactly. And yeah, so and again, I mean, if they have, this is why I say keep Superman alive, don't kill him in BVS. Do the Doomsday virus, like Teladia recommended, because if you do that, they have time to build that bond. You can even do a Superman Wonder Woman movie in between BVS and ZSJL. Don't have them be together yet, or what you could do is have the like them being together start at the end of Justice League. Like the lasso is the last thing that because like you could say it broke down the barriers of how they feel for each other, and they're like, okay, so you know what, I like you, you like me, let's do this. But you would have, but you could use the Superman Wonder Woman movie before this to just build that friendship that they have.
Exactly. And that is all really, again, the thing is, from I started with New 52, but going back, talking to older fans, and from seeing, you know, um, even just the response of, Instagram post or whatever, just that small interaction of Clark and Diana, whether they are romantic or platonic, it still has this um resonation, and it still has this certain gravitation
Yep.
of fans. And a lot of people say, well, not a lot, Twitter X, whatever, um, that, they like their relationship much better if it's just platonic. But it's kind of like, okay, yeah,
Sales wise
it,
says otherwise, but okay.
the thing is, what they, you can't have the platonic relationship without it being having that underlying, that romantic tension, like Wonder Woman 7, um, Tom King.
Mm-hmm.
That was, he definitely um didn't do the deep dive that he claimed that he was going to do, but that scene where Clark is being supportive and telling Diana that he will always be there for her, forever, always and forever.
Yeah.
And just that scene alone, you know, a lot of response, and you don't know which way to go. Was that said in a platonic way of a friend, or was that said in a romantic sense? And that is how their relationship should be. It should be one that is so complicated and so ambiguous that you really don't know, it works either way. Or
Yeah.
Wonder Woman 800. The fact that, obviously they're supposed to be friends, but
The
the
way they're
art
holding
said
each other
otherwise.
says
Yeah,
otherwise.
the art said otherwise. So that is the relationship that they need in live action. And within the DCEU, it was, even if you didn't want them to be romantically linked, it's still that ambiguity of their friendship that still gets people, you know, to supporting of the relationship. We can see from the GIF that you have up at the top
Yeah.
left.
Henry and Gal clearly have chemistry, so it's not like the actors wouldn't have chemistry.
Right. And that is just behind. Honestly, when this the Snyder cut and even Whedon's, you know, awful cut and just any behind the scenes of Henry and Gal, the you know, they wanted to try to, especially with Whedon, he wanted to force this like it's Wonder Woman and Batman thing, you know.
Oh God, those are the worst scenes in that entire movie.
Right. It's kind of like, but you can tell that it was forced, and it, you know, it did come out that pretty much it wasn't Gail, it was a body double. You know?
Oh yeah,
and
with the flash scene where he falls into her boobs and she refused to film that, and then Joss Whedon threatened her career. What a feminist!
yeah, so you know, you those scenes for the characters just didn't fit. But the behind the scenes really showed that even with the interview, Henry and Gal had an interview, and they were just the banter between them. It really showed what was missing with and what could have been with Clark and Diana. Just that banter, that friendship, whatever, it works wonders.
Pun intended.
Yes.
Yeah, that worked. Yeah, and again, I feel like they could have, if they continue this, hint, hint, like at Netflix or something like that, I would like to see. I think that we would see Superman and Wonder Woman interact, because even Zack knows that, yeah, you can't have it where they barely talk to each other. You kind of need them to be there. And the only reason why they barely talk to each other in the DCEU is because he was dead for a significant portion. So that's why, again, I say change the whole Superman dead. So next movie. Now, this one's a interesting one. Shazam 1. Now, first off, I like this movie a lot. And I liked how it basically was like his stepbrother is dealing with, is like his foster brother is like a big superhero fan. They even firmly linked this in the SnyderVerse with like the Black Zero event and then the Batarang. But the problem with this is that this is when WB started to screw around with Henry Cavill, where they wanted him to come back and just do like a short cameo, but I think he couldn't do it because he was filming The Witcher. So that's where the headless Superman came from.
Yeah, Henry, I think it was a Variety article. I think 2018 he was fired for the mustache. That whole thing, which is very petty. And
I'm like, that's not his fault. He was contractually obligated to keep that, and you wanted to do a massive reshoot. What do you expect?
Right. So, I mean, honestly, Superman coming back with a beard or something, that would have worked too. You know,
there you go. Super beard.
I really don't know why they made such a big deal when, you know, it's been in comics. Again, they are not looking at the source material because it's been in the comics that Superman has had a beard, and
New 52.
New 52 came back with a beard. So yeah, that. Then I believe he was rehired in 2020. So, but of course, Shazam. The first movie was it 27? No, that was.
It was shortly after Justice League. So yeah.
2018, 2019. And yeah, they couldn't get, obviously they wanted, you know, Henry, but they couldn't get him, so they had to do, that is where the meme of the headless Superman started. Because they had already fired Henry and not even trying to get a replacement. They were just going to do shadows or just have him headless. And that was honestly, like I said, petty and pointless. Shazam, It's a good kiddie movie, popcorn movie. You don't really need to change anything. Have a little bit more. I mean, the Easter eggs is already there. The
Here's
the
what I
only
would
thing
do. Here's
is
what I would do. Because I thought it would be kind of fun. Use Freddy the Foster brother, Freddie Freeman, and have him, because he knows a lot about superheroes. So have him go. According to this fan poll, it's like I've been reading online on, like, let's say it's called Super Red, that Superman and Wonder Woman are secretly dating. You could say it's like an ongoing debate and stuff. And once again, you can still have the lunch scene with Superman and Wonder Woman, but I want to emphasize this because it's on the slides. Everyone has heads.
exactly. And having Superman and Wonder Woman there, it will refer back to them actually asking about the poll of, are they secretly dating or something, in that awkward funny type moment. And again, going back to the New 52, how Shazam, Billy was teasing them both about dating or whatever. It's so many missed opportunities and things that they could have, implanted.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, that's about it for that one. Now this one, Shazam 2, it wasn't a bad movie. I very much enjoyed it. The thing about it is that, and I'll say this in the why it and like how to change it. It should have been a Wonder Woman team up movie, because if Wonder Woman were in the movie for longer than just the end, I guarantee you people would have shown up more for this movie, even if it was announced a reboot.
Yeah, again, it was still along the lines of a popcorn film for, like the first one was. I don't honestly, the ending of her, that was again just showing Shazam, Billy being, Billy, and having his dream of her dating and stuff like that, and just this running gag or whatever. But again, still Superman being, it would have been, you know, just as much of a gag with Superman being there this time. Again, teasing about a romance angle or something like that. But for Wonder, I think that just a full team up though, I it would really show their desperation, and like they are really, heavily banking on Wonder Woman more so than it being a Shazam movie. And that
True.
was the thing about, even though the title was Batman versus v Superman, it was still the fact of leaning it it qualified sort of for a Man of Steel sequel. So it was like it still heavily went on, it was Batman and Ben Affleck,
Yeah, I
and
mean, Batman's name comes first, so there
yeah.
is that.
And so Henry at that time did feel like he was pushed aside. So I really, for the bigger characters, I really wouldn't want them to be used, or, or lesser characters be reliant on bigger characters, because it really would sideline them in their own sequels.
Exactly. So now to do Super Wonder in this, I have some funny ideas I was thinking about when I was making this. So you could have, so if it's a Shazam, if it's a Shazam Wonder Woman team up, you could have Shazam go to Wonder Woman. I know you're dating Superman, but according to some sources, I'm more popular than he is. Referencing to how when Shazam first showed up in the comic book market, he outsold Superman. So you can kind of make some fun jokes about that. And if like maybe at the end of the movie, if Superman and Wonder Woman aren't dating in the DCU yet, you could have Shazam be the one who encourages Diana to tell Clark how she feels about him. You can have a little bit more of a friendly relationship.
Exactly. It's just so many ways that this could go about. And again, it's the missed opportunities, and just, I mean, with Wonder Woman and Shazam, that's pretty much the angle that they have in comics, is that Billy has a crush on Diana. He does see her as like the big sister, but it's mostly though a teenage crush. and that is the gag that they have for them. Um, but at the same time, he is, teasing Clark and Diana. So, that would have fit. And especially if they would have still went in the direction that The Rock had, because he wanted the Superman and Wonder Woman team up, and also with fighting Shazam too, so that all just the setup and the forming of that plot works.
Well, yeah, he even wanted a crossover with Wonder Woman specifically, and I think that would have been really cool. Black Adam versus Wonder Woman.
Right. I mean, if he couldn't get Henry back as Superman, that was, I believe that was basically Plan B, was Black Adam versus Wonder Woman.
That would have been cool. Speaking of Black Adam, so here's the thing about Black Adam. I like this movie a lot. Is it the best superhero movie? Hell no. But is it as bad as people say? No. It's a fun movie. It's a classic comic book movie where it's just a big fight. And you know what? I'm fine with that because that's what it's supposed to be. And the thing about this, again, I say this movie would have made a lot more money and people would have definitely showed up for it if instead of sending in the JSA, Waller sends in Superman and we get a Black Adam versus Superman fight, but then inevitable team up.
I mean, that was basically what The Rock was trying to set up. It was just that, with The Rock and how Twitter X reacts to him, it's always going to be, they feel like he is a bit overbearing, and he
ego.
Yeah, and he does a little bit, but at the same time, he was, even if it was the Black Adam universe in a way, he was still pretty much, well, from what I see, it seemed like he was still giving what the fans wanted and trying to make this plot work of, yes, it is, Black Adam being kind of like the main villain or whatever, but he was bringing back Henry as Superman. He was going to have these team ups that people have been clamoring for. So, I mean, it's a catch-22, double-edged sword, but at the same time, I would have liked to see how, it was all executed. And especially if it meant for Superman and Wonder Woman to be, to have a team up, to fight against Black Adam. It made sense. And they also wanted to do Kingdom Come too. So that is another plus, and yeah, I mean, he tried to give, the JSA, obviously The Rock knows somewhat of the board to even want the JSA. And, just for that alone, I give him a little slack that no, it wasn't just like the all around best movie, but at the same time, he was trying to build something and trying to build, the fan trust. And now DC is basically right back to that, being made fun of, the questioning.
Well,
because
remember also, because they had Henry announce, "I'm back as Superman," and then 2 days later, "I'm not back as Superman."
Exactly. That really was just very humiliating and embarrassing for him to have to. He was so excited to meet James Gunn, and he was like, he had so many plans. He was ready to talk, and then for those talks to turn around and it's like you're fired, from this role that you've pretty much kept so close to you. And Henry wanted to evolve. He wanted to really take control of the Superman character because he loved the character so much, and he wanted a story that made sense, and to really give the audience what he felt, that he was lacking, because he has, in a sense, voiced his disappointment of being sidelined and everything.
Well, yeah, and even The Rock says, "Okay, so wait a second, you have the most power." Granted, he overspoke, he overhyped Black Adam a little bit when he said the most powerful being in the earth is Black Adam. Not true, but I see what you're going for. He goes, the most powerful being in the universe has been on the sidelines for too damn long. I know. Again, not like Superman is not that powerful, but I see what he's going for. I mean, he even echoed me and called Henry Cavill this generation's Christopher Reeve.
Exactly. So if you're, getting this hype and you are so focused on trying to get it quote unquote right, in the way that Henry wanted and he felt comfortable with, I just really can't see why you would just straight up, cancel him or anything like that. And especially if you're just hiring your friends too.
Yeah,
And
I'm sorry, because I get that like film executives work with people they've worked with before. Yeah, that's true. That's normal. But but this is a different situation when you're dealing with universes, when you're dealing with rebooting a cinematic universe, and you're getting rid of versions of characters that are popular, like Henry, Gal, Ben, Jason, and you're just replacing them with D-level characters that first off didn't perform well in the box office or in the actual like HBO Max numbers, and you saw, because you can't tell me Gunn didn't see the positive reception that DC got when Henry announced he was back as Superman, and then he just decides, nah, I'm just gonna toss it.
Henry was trending for days, and also I think his post got over like 1 million likes, and I mean it was a huge thing. But the posts that he posts of his Superman right now, whether it is the and I know the algorithm of Instagram is different, especially with how many followers an account would have. I think Henry has like over, I don't know, 20 million maybe followers, and Gunn only has like 3 million or something like that. So I get that, but at the same time, he is promoting
Your
David.
brand that you're taking over, and again, you had so much positivity around DC at that point. Granted, Black Adam didn't perform as well, but you can't. First off, this whole narrative that Henry's future as Superman was dependent upon Black Adam performing well, I would believe that if Henry were in a more major role in the movie, like a Black Adam versus Superman movie. But he's in a post-credit scene. I'm sorry, no, I don't buy that. Any executive that's trying to tell you that was the excuse, they're either stupid or lying. Honestly, either of those is true.
Right. No, he was not dependent on Black Adam at all. The thing though, when Henry was rehired, he wasn't really supposed to come back until the Crisis film that they wanted after Flash 2.
Sure.
So I think
But here's the
either
thing,
he
though.
was going to be.
But here's the thing, though. By the time Black Adam came out, Hamada and the crew were gone, so it's not like those were their plans anymore.
Yeah, well, we didn't know that Hamada would have left at that time.
Actually, yeah, we did. Because when Zaslav canceled Batgirl, first off, he was pissed off because apparently he wasn't consulted, and then he said, "I'm going to stay around until Black Adam comes out."
Right, that is the thing. Right, that is what made him sort of kind of like drop it abruptly. That's what I'm saying. Is that he had this short-term, sort of long-term plan of a crisis, and Henry was supposed to be featured in that film, and as well as Flash, the first film ending, he was to be there. It was going to be yeah, it was to set up, future films. But if you but honestly, yeah, Henry's just official debut within a new movie was going to be Crisis, and just go on from there. Um, but yeah, Black Adam, it was just to try to help Henry, but even honestly, the it's so much bad blood, within this experience for Henry, that it was the article that came out a couple of days ago that said that he fired, his manager, because it just felt like,
Well, because also the manager had him announce that he was back, even though he didn't have a contract yet.
honestly, I don't know. I don't believe that. Like, I I don't know. It's so much. The reason why I don't believe it is because DC and Warner Brothers all tweeted out, and Instagram comments, everything saying "Welcome back, Superman."
Yeah,
If
when
he didn't have
DC says that, yeah, that's a bit of a thing there. Why would
yeah, if there was
DC and WB announce that, like themselves do that?
like they were basically having a welcome back tour. If he didn't have a contract or anything like that, why did they do that? Being on social media. And I know that there's some people say, and people do that they use kind of like a manipulative tactic of um to see the reactions of the general audience on social sites, and it doesn't be official yet.
But on
And
that,
on
you had an overwhelming positive reception to Cavill announcing he's coming back. So even on that, it's like literally there was no reason to get rid of Cavill besides Gunn's ego. And even speaking of Superman and Lois, just no matter your opinion on that show, the reason that was cited by the creators on the show as to why that show was canceled was because they didn't want it competing with Gunn stuff. Which, first off, this whole competing BS is stupid because Warner Brothers still gets the money. They're still getting money. What difference does it make?
that, and it just feels like they want, what it seems that they want is for everything to be synergized.
Mm-hmm.
And you know honestly, putting all your eggs in one basket doesn't work. um and um with Zaslav, I just think that he wants a connection to everything, and but at the same time, it's the connection is to make everything cheap.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, look at animation, how the budget has slashed so far, so far deep, that even with the Tomorrowverse, how, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, they don't even have enough. With Jim Craig, he said that they don't even have enough to have like the animated voices. Like, they have to be very selective on who they give lines to. And if you see, within the background, most of the characters are just standing there,
Mm-hmm.
still. For even if they do move, you can tell that it's very much weak
Cheap.
animation,
Yeah.
and it's because they don't have any money. They aren't getting, the funds or anything that they used to have, and it's all because of Zaslav being very greedy. But it's also him feeling like, if we cut here, we can either give that money to a project that I actually like, or he's pocketing the money.
But again, this is coming from a man that one of his like talking points when he was coming into power was, "Oh yeah, DC's been underutilized. We're gonna really go hard on DC."
And yet,
Mm-hmm.
unless it's just all Gunn,
Probably all Gunn. Based upon the fact that Zaslav has, and Brit, I kid you not, this was legit what he said. Gunn is on a mission from God.
yeah, no,
I'm
that's
like,
weird.
no, stop it. That is just weird. What's going to happen if, and let's be honest, when Superman fails? Oh, he's not on a mission from God anymore.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of ambition there, but if you were just like all 4 seasons, All-Star Superman and Burns Superman and any type of story like that just pretty much the surface level and it's just so boring. That is what Gunn Superman pretty much represents. And honestly, I mean, again, you're putting your eggs in one basket, and Superman has not had any successful, movie.
Short of Man of Steel. It's kind of funny when you look at like even Netflix labeled Man of Steel as the highest grossing Superman movie of all time.
Yeah. But they're still stuck on Reeve Superman. I mean, they are putting it back in theaters. It feels like that's the only thing that they can reference is a 40-year-old movie, 40-plus-year-old movie.
Yeah, and my whole thing is like, look at the story of Christopher Reeve Superman. What Man of Steel does is it tells that same story to a degree, the bare bones, but in a modern context. So really, when you think about it, Man of Steel is the revitalization of Christopher Reeve Superman,
which is pretty much, and it's not even pre-crisis. That honestly, it does have some Silver Agey, kind of stuff within
like
it.
Flying back in time, flying reverse around the Earth to reverse time.
Right, something like that. But to have it, just to reach the modern audience is just not there.
Yeah, but moving on to how we put Super Wonder and Black Adam. Now, what I would do, keep the Superman cameo. Now, what I would do is keep it exactly the same, as a matter of fact. Superman lands, goes, it's been a while since anyone made the world this nervous. Black Adam, we should talk. And Superman goes, I hear you're weak to magic, Superman. And then all of a sudden you hear, I'm not. Diana drops in with her sword and shield.
Yeah, that is perfect. Or, even just or the fact that she vows to, protect him from magic or something like that. Just that, the whole setup of the fight, especially with Clark and Diana together, makes, so much sense.
You give that Black Adam go, you need your woman
Wife.
or wife to protect you. And Superman goes, oh no, this is date night.
Yeah, just that friendly banter would just, really show that these supposed gods are very much, whatever defines normal is.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, and after you have after he says, oh, this is date night, and Wonder Woman goes, and I brought my dancing shoes. She cracks her knuckles, and then they fight. So there you go. See, we just fixed Black Adam for you. Now, The Flash. All right. This movie is interesting. So I like some parts of it. I like how it homages different eras of DC. How it does that is stupid. Like, instead of doing CGI people in the Chrono Ball, you could have literally had he's running, and then you see little portals open, and you see clips from Justice League or Christopher Reeve Superman, instead of trying to recreate that thing. And you could have even filmed stuff with Cage as Superman, and then just project that. In other words, there's no reason to have those really bad CGI people in there.
Yeah, and especially with the budget being so high as it was, you could have done a lot better. But The Flash has been a mess since day one of them trying to adapt Flash.
Because,
so
by the way, this movie was announced when season 1 of The Flash premiered.
Right. And I mean, for The Flash, and I think this was actually right before the premiere too. So it's kind of like that show was able to finish before
I know.
Flash, got a movie, and even still, it still feels like it was pointless. The movie was really pointless.
It didn't even wipe away the SnyderVerse like we were told it was going to be. I will say, though, what's kind of funny about this one. So this came out after the Snyder Cut came out, obviously. And reportedly, Andy liked it so much that he wrote in the line of, you went back in time, like in Pizarnov. So in other words, this movie, the one good thing this movie does, it canonizes the Snyder Cut to the DCEU.
Yeah, and honestly, if you want to pick a Justice League movie, which no one will pick the Whedon movie.
There are people. I encountered some.
Oh, really? That's...
Yeah, and I had someone tell me that, oh yeah, the Whedon cut, it actually respects the characters. And I'm like, Flash falling into Wonder Woman's boobs is not respect for the character. Martha telling Lois, Clark told me you were the thirstiest girl he ever did meet. That's not respecting the characters. And this comes from someone who loathes Lois Lane.
Well, it very much is accurate to her character, but it wasn't supposed to be said out loud.
Yeah, and it's just like, I'm just like, how is that respectful to the characters? Again, it's the most superficial thing. And then I find out this individual is a DCAU Bruce Timm fan. And I'm like, that explains it.
Oh, so I just lost my train of thought.
Well, I was saying that this person told me they were a Bruce Timm fan, and I'm like, well, that explains why you think the Whedon cut is more respectful to the characters.
Oh, right. Well, yeah. You can tell, like, the thought process of some people. And honestly, I really don't see like how you can think that could be. I understand that they might be a fan of, Whedon's forced, like, that ship. Understand that. But I still really don't understand how you can have that comparison of the two.
What I'd love to do, by the way, is when they say, oh, I love the DCAU. I used to watch that as a kid. And I'm like, okay, ignoring nostalgia. What about it? What about it do you like? I'm going to say, ignoring the what about you like? And you can't say, oh, I used to watch it as a kid. Ignoring the nostalgia. Because let me put it this way. That show got me into DC. So I have love for the DCAU. There are parts of it I really like Batman the Animated Series is great. There are parts of Justice League I really like. Most of Justice League I like. It's just those small little moments are like, okay, this is so stupid. But the point is, right. I'm nostalgic for it too. But I'm also able to say, okay, this is not good. This is not good. This is very egregious. So I'm like, it's not as perfect as people make it out to be. That's my problem.
It's not. And that's the thing, is that so many people are, and Sam said it, that they are married to what they grew up on. And that is very much true. But at the same time, you have to look at those flaws that come within that. And you're either learn to appreciate it more, or you learn that maybe this not that good. And a lot of older cartoons and stuff that you're seeing, Disney, Looney Tunes and stuff like that, just the whole general thing, when they go back and they analyze episodes and they was like, this is not very kid friendly, and it's that whole, ruin my childhood type meme or whatever. But
you had the same people, by the way, saying that say Zack Snyder ruined my childhood, said Michael Bay ruined my childhood with what he did with Transformers.
Yeah, yeah, the only thing I remember of the Michael Bay movies was like a lot of explosive.
That's any Michael Bay movie except like 13 hours. But the point is, it's like, no, I'm like, how did he destroy your childhood? Because the stuff that you still watch at your childhood still exists. You can literally watch it. It's like we had this conversation when I was on in Nick's show when we were talking about Star Wars. It's like, listen, you can hate what's going on now. That's totally fine. But you can also go pop in a DVD of Episode 4 or Transformers G1 or even Christopher Reeve's Superman and enjoy that. No one's taking that from you. Or read Post-Crisis Superman for darn's sake.
But that's the thing, is that they want the same things, this stagnant thing just written, rewritten over and over and over again.
And they want to force it on other people.
Yeah, and we're supposed to fall in line like sheep.
Mm-hmm.
But going back to the Flash movie, that the whole movie was, honestly, it was pointless to me. It was, a little bit of nostalgia bait. I mean, that was a total lie.
Well, here's the thing. Here's where it could have worked. Because reportedly they did ask Christian Bale to come back as Batman. And here's the thing. I think Bale would have brought more people into the theaters than Keaton. Here's why. There's less of a generational divide with Keaton being Batman than Bale being Batman. If you couldn't do Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Flashpoint Batman and you wanted to have another Bruce Wayne, you could have just gone to Bale and say, how much do we have to pay you to come back as Batman for this one movie? That's it.
Well, it wasn't going to be one movie. It was supposed to be...
Well, yeah, I'm saying ignoring that whole plan. I'm saying if it was just going to be Flash, you could just tell him, listen, dude, we just want you to come back for this one movie. Because, again, more people would have shown up for Bale than Keaton, I think.
That's true. That is true. I mean, even though Keaton is known as the Batman, and started the whole Batmania and stuff, it's still, again, a generational thing of gravitation. And Nolan's Batman is the modern day Batman. Even Pattinson right now, Nolan is still, at the top.
Yeah. Nolan and Bale are Nolan's Batman and Affleck's Batman are typically like neck and neck for best adaptations.
Yeah, I mean, Affleck has a good Bruce Wayne, I would say. His Batman,
he didn't really get that much of a chance, but the one thing I will hold up against people that say that Affleck was a bad Batman because he wasn't like BTAS, well, Kevin Conroy said he thought the best live-action Batman was Ben Affleck. So I'm like, don't tell these people that their favorite Batman is Affleck.
Right. And, I mean, you would think that Conroy would say himself.
Yeah, and it's actually kind of funny when you look at all the Snyder hate. Most most people that know the comics, like Grant Morrison, even though here's the thing about Grant Morrison recently, he believed an article that came out that was like, Snyder thinks Batman's irrelevant if he doesn't kill. It's not what Snyder said, so he's going off of a faulty premise. So I'm just going to ignore that. Mark Waid, who was very anti-Man of Steel at first, said, I rewatched it. Okay, I still don't necessarily like the disaster like stuff at the end, but he acknowledges that they were adapting a lot of what he did, like Birthright and stuff. So he's like, okay, you know what? A lot of these creatives that either hated Snyder or didn't like him, it came around. It's kind of funny. I asked, and I talked to David Finch in the same conversation where I asked him about Superman and Wonder Woman versus Wonder Bat. By the way, he said Super Wonder. I asked him, so what do you think of the Snyder Cut? He said if that had come out in 2017 like it was supposed to, DC would be in a better position right now. And he's right.
Really, yeah, DC, I mean, they fumble their own thing. They just, I don't know, they have these ideas and either they go, half on it, or they just purposely fumble it.
I think partly purposely, because here's the thing, you can't, because here's the thing. Occasionally I'll rewatch like live reactions to Snyder Cut, and it was kind of funny when you look at the Snyder Cut. If they had like let Zack like take a break, come back and do his movie, obviously recover from Autumn dying, and then complete his movie as intended. Obviously, it wouldn't be 4 hours, but essentially like cut it down and release as much of the Snyder Cut as he could. They could have done a movie with like Henry Cavill eventually abandons the black suit and goes for the red suit. In other words, they could have course corrected away if they really wanted to go away, but they decided to. Here's the disgusting part, Brit. They used his daughter's suicide as an excuse to fire him, butchered his movie, and then blamed him for Justice League bombing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that is gross.
Yeah, that is how business people do. They really are below the belt and just so unpredictable and so, they heartless. But that is how businesses work. And more you hear about just Hollywood and stuff in general, that is how they work. If you don't do exactly what they demand you to do, if you don't, abide by their rules or anything like that, they will try to destroy your career and your personal life, and will throw things up in your face and stuff like that. So with Zack, that's exactly what they did, And the thing is, we live in a world that is social media driven, and this stuff cannot be hidden. How it was, you heard stories about how Hollywood was. We see documentaries and biopics of the old classic actors and actresses, and even musicians and stuff from back in the 1920s. We see that they had issues and were basically Hollywood puppets in a way. And that is what drove them to become suicidal. That is what drove them to drinking, drugs, even murder. That is the horror of Hollywood business.
Yeah.
And the thing is with Zack, though, is that he isn't so consumed by it. He just, happily making his films now with Rebel Moon, and
which was great, by the way. No matter what anyone tells you, Rebel Moon was good. But and here's the thing: he's the one director. 0 people have ever complained about him. 0.
Yeah, as long as he, was staying with that attitude, with that good attitude and everything like that, that is why, he has the fans that he has. It is popular to hate someone and to keep downing them and everything like that, but it gets tired, and
Plus, a lot of the people that blast Zack on the internet, I know, so the same people that have always attacked him on any of his movies. So whenever they say this big YouTuber attacks, hates Rebel Moon, I'm like, you're the same. You never liked any of Zack's movies, so why is this a surprise?
Right. The biasness of a lot of things, I just kind of like, oh my God, like, could you shut up? Because you aren't going to change your mind. You aren't going to give an objective review at all. So honestly, you might as well just had ignored it in the first place, or just, just let it, no, just ignore it, because you aren't going to be positive. You're not going to try to find anything positive. You're just going to be negative and complain and all of that.
For those numbers, Brit, for those numbers.
Yeah. And honestly, what is it helping? Because as a whole, Hollywood and media, is going down. No one is taking it seriously. So it's kind of like, what's the point of continuing to be negative?
Exactly. Now, speaking of continue to be negative, now, in terms of bringing the SuperWonder to the Flash, now, what you could do here, obviously delete the entire bridge scene with Wonder Woman. That was stupid, and that served 0 purpose, besides to put some weird Wonder Bats thing in there, which I'm like, that wasn't even Zack's plan. Looking at Zack, that was the other part, Brit, that I'm like, I like this guy. When Zack said, okay, it's fun to play with, but when you actually do the math on it, it's not going to work. So I'm like, thank you, dude. You're the man. Because I thought I was gonna have a moment where like, oh no, Zach likes Wonder Bat. What do I do?
Okay, so that is the thing. Is what I don't like is that they use Diana, Wonder Woman, for it's basically again for Batman's story. It's never for her story.
Mhm.
And again, that this is why Henry Superman and Henry himself was overshadowed, because when Affleck, okay, so Man of Steel didn't particularly at that time meet the very high expectations that WB had. So it was very much a rush of not only introducing the Justice League, but Batman to basically sideline Superman. And of course, they've always wanted to sideline Superman and really just make it Batman and Friends and Wonder Woman with her, you know, basically very much a sexist idea, but just feeling like she is the top female character, and Batman at the time, is the top male character, and being this, mortal hero that can beat up Superman or whatever, they felt like, okay, Wonder Woman is going to be on his shoulder, or or as his cheerleader. So, yeah, with having that, like I said, BVS and Justice League, um, just the idea of entertaining it just for funsies, I don't know. Just don't do it, because it's not going to lead to anything in the first place. And it's no point when you have these fans that treat Wonder Woman so badly and don't take her character
And
serious.
Teladia's back.
Yes.
But so yeah, exactly. But so in terms of this, yeah, delete the stupid bridge scene. That was dumb. And then add back in the deleted scene of Clark and Diana meeting Barry at the courthouse. They are a couple at this point, and then you can like have like Superman and Wonder. You can have Superman, Man of Steel 2, where he trains Kara. You can have Wonder Woman rejoin the Amazons, and you can have Clark bring Kara to the Amazons. Hence the Superman Batman Apocalypse storyline. Now Teladia digs that.
Yes, of course I do.
That's such a great movie. But anyway, so Brit, yeah, how about that? Like having Diana basically be like a surrogate, like I guess mom-ish or like big sister for Kara.
You are at least finally having like the feminist side and female empowerment showing, and that is their relationship within the comics. Is that Diana is always the aunt, big sister, to Kara, and she does go to the mascara to be trained, or Diana trains her herself. So again, within the source, and I really would have liked to see Sasha with Gal, because she was so excited as well to team up with Gal. And I mean, she was a Wonder Woman fan, herself. So it would have been really good interactions with them, with the both of them. And then, adding in Henry as like this, he needed something else other than being, dependent on Lois. And it's the fact that with that, Lois isn't important, and she wouldn't have had a role, and probably, honestly, it doesn't seem like they were even going to bring Amy Adams back anyway. So yeah,
yeah. Guess what? My relationship with Lois didn't work out. Hey, Diana.
Exactly, something like that, and having your cousin, to showing that he doesn't need Lois. This is the thing. You don't have to kill Lois. It's just the fact of their relationship does not have to be. I know she is a love interest, but really, I mean, that's her only role.
Yes.
And
in fact,
she needs
her series that everyone tells me was a bestseller back in the 60s, which I don't care about, was called Superman's Girlfriend. Lois
and the
Lane.
promise.
Sorry, go on.
Oh no, I was just gonna say the promise of that series was Lois getting into shenanigans to have Superman marry her again, where the some
I
where's the
mean, wait a
female
second, Brit.
empowerment.
Wasn't there a storyline where she makes herself African American and wonders if Superman would still love her?
Yeah, and Superman came off as very racist.
Well, speaking of very
Ooh.
racist, she also did this to infiltrate the Harlem side of Metropolis called Little Africa.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
That's what the name of this place was, and yeah, I'm like, why was this ever an idea?
the Silver Age is very unhinged, and at the time, any type of racist, um, it was accepted. But
Brit, I
now,
just got a great idea. Whenever someone brings up that series, I'm gonna be like, "Oh, you mean the one where Lois Lane had blackface?
yeah, I mean,
That's the one you're holding up."
yeah, it has very much aged very poorly, and
There's a
um,
reason why that ain't getting reprinted anyway anytime soon.
right. Actually, DC is doing like for Superman's anniversary, but also, in part of Gunn's movie. But it's like get to know Lois Lane or whatever on DC Universe. And yeah, her series I don't even think is on the universe.
Yeah,
That whatever.
they're not giving anyone
Yeah.
access to that anymore.
No, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Anything in regard to, like, let's say 50s, 40s, 50s, they're not going to reprint it. They're not going to,
Well,
tackle that.
some stuff they do because they do reprint like Action Comics 1 all the time and a few of his other stuff. But I'm just saying they're not going to reprint Superman's girlfriend Lois Lane
Yeah,
at
they're not
any
like
point.
what I mean
I'll
by
do,
that.
by the way,
Yeah.
if they ever do, and I for some reason I hate myself and want to buy that trade, I am going to take the N in Lane and change it into an M and say, "Hey DC, I fixed your book, Lois Lane."
And make
That's
a
me.
YouTube short out of it.
Yeah, I'm going to turn into a YouTube short. I'm going to break out my Sharpie saying, "Hey guys, I'm going to improve the worst book in DC." Woo! I could even do that to the Greg Rucka Lois Lane book. Hey.
I mean, even with that, Rucka basically, he was like, well, they wanted to put Superman's wife or something as the title, or as an homage to the girlfriend thing, but yet that book, first of all, it had Superman still promptly in it, so it's kind of like if you're trying to show Lois as independent, you're doing a horrible job at it. And then by the end, like halfway through, it turned into a Renee Montoya book. So it's kind of like,
Well,
yeah,
yeah.
Lois can.
And the other thing is, like, she can't sell a book unless Superman's name is on it. Have you noticed that? And then I brought this up to someone. They said, well, it's because she's the supporting character in the book. That's not how DC markets her.
Yeah, DC's marketing of Lois is kind of like they want to make it seem like she's an equal to Superman, but she's not. Like, as a female reader, and of course I'm going to be invalidated anyway because I'm not worshiping Lois as a character, but she's not the female inspiration that whoever's a fan of her, whatever they see, I don't, because she is.
It'll be kind of interesting. Okay, so I just got an idea. Not for a story, Brit, so don't worry. This is a stupid idea, but this is something I could see DC doing. They'll basically take the Superman Wonder Woman series by Claremont and try and factor that in where Lois Lane becomes Wonder Woman. That's what they might as well do.
I mean, well, that was already terrible. They would never do that because
And yeah, Teladia, that's a real story where Lois becomes there is no Wonder Woman in this universe. It's Lois Lane gets God powers and becomes Wonder Woman.
Yeah, again, at that time, it just felt like they didn't respect Diana. And
Still don't.
DC
Okay.
is, yeah, they are right back at that point. With the DCEU and everything, they did have a little bit of respect for her. and especially with New 52 as well, and it wasn't just because of her relationship with Clark. It was that she was still, you know, being treated, and maybe it was partly, but she was treated as the equal that she was. And you saw her as an individual as well. But for DC to go right back to that of her being very much, you have people questioning, her place as in the Trinity. Of course, I don't care for the Trinity concept because it's very superficial anyway, but the fact of questioning her role and her place is ridiculous. And just the reduction of her, with her relationship with Clark as even a friend, with her relationship within honestly the whole DC, because it feels like Diana is very much isolated now. And it really started with Rebirth, and what the Rucker wanted to do with, I remember, I think it was on Facebook that someone either screenshot or sent the link that the artist, Nicola Scott, she basically said that, she called New 52, well, she used another word, but poop, but she, used the other word. And she said throwing that in the garbage. And she was so, like, they were really being unprofessional and, very petty, and saying how, New 52 was just bad and everything like that.
And that is why I don't cover Rebirth books on this channel.
Right, but at the same time, while you are doing that, you put Wonder Woman in a psych ward in a straitjacket. You
have her mind shatter, and I'm like, oh, I don't like this at all.
Then you have you have her so mind broken that she basically turns into like this little girl or whatever. And Steve, you're trying to show Steve as like this, this army dude, whatever he's supposed to be within Rebirth, going through the trenches of wherever they were, of
I think it was Africa.
Yeah, and honestly, the whole thing of trying to make it seem like Diana was just, how can you just walk around on an island that had no type of life whatsoever? And all the way in Africa too. Like, that is just so weird to me. That
well, the other thing about that is that they even tried some idea that I originally liked, but then I was like, okay, this is stupid. Was so some of the dialogue for Steve Trevor, and I don't think this was the Rucker run. I think it was the one after this, where he basically said, you're the god of war and I'm a soldier, and I can't believe we never had a conversation about war. And I'm like, okay, so A, Diana doesn't care about being the god of war. I mean, she does, but that's a very different thing, dude. And second off, that's the other thing. It's like, oh my gosh, she's the god of war and he's a soldier. They should be together. And I'm like, no, because here's the thing. Even the New 52, she took that as a necessity, so it wasn't her choice, so no one else would get Ares' power. And then notice I don't think she was the god of war at that point.
Within the New 52, her purpose of being the goddess of war, she said that she wanted to basically end war, like soldiers and she wanted to understand it, but basically like end it. So soldiers wouldn't even exist. So to say that she, for her to be with Steve because he's a soldier, it really goes against, again, you're going against her purpose. She is not supposed to be with the soldier. Even the army thing, that was the World War II type era, but in modern day, a soldier in America with, war crimes and stuff like that, no, she is not supposed to be with Steve in that way.
And it was kind of funny. I got into an argument with someone, and Brit, you were in the Super Wonder group chat for this. Where speaking of Wonder Woman versus U.S. military, where in Tom King's book, Wonder Woman murders U.S. soldiers. Like, I'm sorry. Okay, so she didn't. So someone said, well, she didn't kill him. She whipped a tank at someone. There was blood on the panel, and this is actually from DC Universe. I didn't edit this, and she didn't wait. At least we didn't see her empty the tank of like soldiers. So yeah, she killed people.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's Diana would never just go like tit for tat, or
No. Mm-mm.
she wouldn't. So, but she's going on a revenge thing that the soldiers killed her sister, so she's going to kill them.
But
That
again,
makes
it's
sense.
like but I think it's another example of Tom King working out his own personal issues in the book.
That's true. And again, Wonder Woman is not the character. Even if she did want to, kill the soldiers, she wouldn't. She, again, if she is to be the goddess of war, or just seeing how powerful she is, she would basically just break the tanks and everything and intimidate them,
Yeah.
but she would not, kill the soldiers.
Ang Lee's Hulk had better respect for the U.S. military than Tom King's Wonder Woman, because at least what he did, he turned the barrel backwards at the soldiers. So it's not like, instead of like destroy it. That was like one tank, he tossed it. Granted, with the rate at which he tossed the tank, a lot of those guys are probably dead. But I'm just saying that she could have at least bent the barrel, because she has super strength, despite what people may not remember. So I'm just like, what is going on? I don't get this, and that's why I dropped the book. And by the way, before you guys ask, I still picked up issue 8 of Wonder Woman, because that was still pulled before I dropped the book. I'm not going to screw my comic book shop with that. I'm still going to pick it up. I'll still review it. And maybe in the future, when the book gets interesting, I can pick it back up. Maybe. But one of two things has to happen. Stop bashing Christians, or get Tom King off the book. Either of those things. If he starts doing that, I may add it again. We'll see. But it's going to take a lot to get me back in that book.
I mean,
yeah,
what Tom King was trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
You go ahead.
I mean, after the whole Tom King thing,
it's my most watched short, by the way.
Yeah, I was just like really disgusted with the fact of how he portrayed Wonder Woman in that book, and I'm just like thinking,
500 views.
Wow.
509. Oh, movie theater. I want to read a comment. I dropped it due to how most of the story delivered something else. It gave us something false promise of the Trinity origin, which we didn't get. There you go. The story makes many people want to forgo the whole Wonder Woman daughter thing. Yeah, exactly. First, part of the selling point of this series was that, okay, it's Wonder Woman's daughter. I see no reason to like Wonder Woman's daughter. In fact, I hate her. She's not that. You could have just done a Wonder Girl story with Yara, who, by the way, people liked, even though, yeah, her series, they had some issues with it, but she was like the one future state character where everyone was like, oh, this is awesome. Can we get more of this? And DC was like, nah. It's almost like DC. It's almost like when the fans say they want a character, DC and Warner Brothers says, no. How's that working for you?
With Yara, she was very much a stereotype of Brazilian culture, which was a big, disgrace, and that pretty much ruined her character. And with Trinity, or Lizzie, her character isn't really tied to Diana, not in that sense. The purpose of her character, she was actually supposed to be Mr. Miracle and Big Barda's son, Jack or Jacob, and that idea stuck with Tom King, and then he was asked to take over the Wonder Woman book. He at first rejected it, and he didn't want it at all. But then he thought, well, let me introduce the daughter and have the Super Sons, babysit her. And so then I'll write the book. So basically, he's on the book only for Super Sons babysitting someone else's kid.
Which, as Teladia and I have said many times,
Ooh.
not enough people care about Super Sons for that to work. So,
Exactly.
Just the name Super Sons makes me cringe.
yeah, which here's the thing. They're reprinting a lot of the backups as another trade. And I'm interested to see how the Super Sons babysitting trade sells. Because again, that's an interesting idea, because you could say, okay, if it's not selling well, it could be because of Tom King's Wonder Woman. But if it doesn't sell, even though it's being packaged as its own thing, maybe this character sucks. Which is why, Brit, I said this on Nerdette Stream many times. As soon as Tom King is off this book, you will never hear about Trinity again. It's interesting how they placed her in the future. So when he leaves the book, they never have to reference her again.
And the fact that she isn't Diana's actual daughter. She is, pretty much adopted. But also, the Trinity special, one-shot special that came out in January, I know that it came out, I think, the last week or two within the month. So, okay, so the thing about sales and numbers is that because DC is with the distribution, the lunar, and just how, COVID has pretty much ruined any type of solid data. And of course, the big two especially is not going to reveal their actual numbers. They're abysmal anyway. But, so you only have to go by rankings. And within those rankings, Mark Waid and a couple of writers from Marvel have said that basically that is sort of accurate, and you can kind of tell where the books are. So yeah, her Trinity special was out of the top 50. I think was
That's
even
pathetic, honestly.
Yeah, I will have to go back, but I don't even think it was. I know it was really, really low. So for her Trinity, even though it was reprints of like the backup so far in her first, um, you know, um, debut in Wonder Woman 800, it's still the fact that no one, even retailers care to, order this book.
Yeah, so I'm just like, at this point, again, just pull the pin on the character and be done with it. But anyway, so I think that's a good place to leave this.
I have one question.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
DC Absolute, like the new universe.
Yeah.
Do you think they're gonna reignite that Superman Wonder Woman romance? That's a question for both of you. I really wanted to ask.
Ladies first.
I don't know. I really don't have confidence. I would love to. I would love that for that to happen, but until we get information on exactly what it is, I really don't have confidence in, them. It would be a smart move, but DC isn't smart enough to do it. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I don't have any an answer for that, a confident answer right now.
Exactly. With me, I mean, it's smart because here's the thing. If this is going to be a side continuity running alongside the main continuity, which all indicators say it will be, they need ways to differentiate their main continuity from this one. Otherwise, why have a separate continuity? And what's one of the most obvious ways to separate this continuity from the main one? Superman ain't with Lois. Plus, I think that more people would be not necessarily on board, but not as rapidly against it as they are in the main line, because they could have their crappy convoluted continuity and we could have our nice streamlined one. So everyone gets what they want. In fact, my friend Robert, who's like hardcore Superman has to be with Lois, was like, yeah, if it's in an alternate continuity, I go ahead as far as I'm concerned, because you're respecting both fan bases. And now I know they're scared that, because the other part of this rumor, Teladia, is that if this universe is popular enough, they'll nuke the main continuity, and then the absolute continuity will be the main one, I believe, is the rumor.
If that's the case, then I'm all for it.
The main verse is already nuked. The main verse is, it's their whole everything is canon thing, and just the fact of trying to implement John Kent, and just the whole history of the characters being everyone has memories from all eras. It doesn't make sense. So they've basically nuked this continuity 10 times over. So if you are to do another line, and it would make sense that you don't do the same things. Like, you're already struggling with your main line, and you've given back the older status quo, your all of that, and it still doesn't sell. It has to be something, you need to do different. And but at the same time, again, it's DC. They are stuck on nostalgia. They might think that maybe they can have Superman still with Lois in this new continuity, but I don't know. Maybe they might change ethnicities or something like that, to show the change, But to actually have another relationship, I just don't know, because DC is so afraid of Twitter X, and instead of actually listening to who would actually support their books.
Yeah, and again, a lot of these fans, DC is starting to detect that just catering to these people doesn't lead to sales. I mean, I hope they I hope they eventually figure that out, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. But anyway,
go ahead. I mean, at the end of the day, I hope John Kent is not part of that universe, nor Damian Wayne.
He won't be. Both those. Well, Damian, I think, can be, because I think he has his own thing. But John Kent, no. They have failed what potential they had with that character, even though they didn't have anyone. So, but anyway, I think that's a good place to leave it. So, Teladia, thank you for joining us for the show, man.
Yeah, sorry I had to dip in and out. So,
it's all good. It's all good.
But I really enjoyed this, conversation talking about the Super Wonder with my favorite universe, which is the SnyderVerse. It was great just to discuss that and to talk about Super Doom, a possibility that could have happened in the DCEU.
Yep, definitely is. So so we're gonna wrap this up. So stay heroic, everyone. Lois Lane is Lois Lane. She belongs to General Zod, Zois, and Max Sabat for life. See you later.